All right, guys, welcome back here. Last year at exactly this same time, around the same time, I did a video, the harvest summary or harvest review, kind of a year-end summary, my thoughts on the year. So I figured I'd do that again. Only on that video, I basically was just walking around the barn and talking. So I figured I would reuse some of the highlights, some of this video I was able to take this year from harvest to use it as a voiceover video. I think it works a little bit better. Also, I'm not going to wait till the end of the video to tell you. A lot of guys wanted to know the yields, how we did this year. So it's going to be like a 17-minute video here. I'm going to probably be talking for the whole 17 minutes, so I won't make you wait till the end as we go along here. So 2018, I finally got all my weigh slips. All the paperwork is done for the year. I was just working on my taxes and stuff, that kind of stuff. So 2018 was not a good year, not at all. Just yield wise, I'll just jump right into it. Like I say, if you don't want to watch the whole video, it won't hurt my feelings. Anyway, corn. The corn, we did 117 bushels to the acre. Soybeans, we did 42 bushels to the acre. So why so bad? Well, we'll get into it here. So this will be the harvest year in review. We'll start at the beginning. So we're going back to spring. This year kind of started out, and a lot of you guys know this, a lot of you guys have been following me through all the good and bad parts of the year. A lot of you guys know what's been going on. But just kind of to put it in a summary, if I could summarize the year as best I can and basically just try to communicate what I learned, what worked, what didn't work, the state of things for next year, and also the state of things for YouTube, and any ideas I have on that, like I did last year. So we're going back to the spring, and this year started out wet, and it's not unusual for us to have wet springs. There's spring rains are a commonplace. We have a lot of rain in the spring. Things turn muddy, so it didn't seem like it was that unusual, but it basically started out the year wet and kept on through spring. We got the crops planted, and it was a sight to see. Basically, two 12-row corn planters on the farm here at the same time, just about going, and did not take them long at all to plant the corn and beans that I have. So I was happy with that. We got some of the acreage limed the day before they came to plant. So you guys have seen my planting videos of planting through that fresh lime. I was able to get a lot of the spring work done. However, I was able to get all of the herbicide on that I needed to get on, and was able to work around the rain a little bit better in the spring. So all the crops are planted, and they're starting to emerge, and it got cold. It got pretty darn cold for that late in the year. We had lows down in the 40s and highs only in the 60s during the day in almost June, so that was not good. Not a good start as far as heat units for the corn especially. So going a little bit further on the year, it was kind of the same story. It was rain and more rain. I think I was getting ready to top dress nitrogen on the 4th of July, the day after the 4th of July, and it rained over an inch the day before I put that on, and it rained probably an inch the day after. You guys have probably seen my video on the 2018 year, unlike any other year, when I said we're up to 72 inches of rainfall. Just a constant theme all year, and you guys have heard me talk about it all year. Just not enough sunshine. We just didn't have the sun. It was a lot of cloudy, overcast weather all year, and that translated into the yields. Now, I still feel fortunate, though. This isn't going to be a total pessimistic video by any means. You guys saw I was shelling corn for a guy, and it was only doing like 60 bushel to the acre. My one neighbor, he was only doing about 100. A lot of guys were in that 80 to 100 range. So at 117 bushel, I did have one field that hit 120 for an average, which 120 for an average was pretty good. But if if you watched my video on the cornfield tour, the 6 fields of corn, field number 3, which looked horrible. You guys probably remember the leaves on the corn plants were yellow, and I thought it was dead, and that field just looked terrible. It was wavy. That field was the highest yielding field on the farm. It's actually this field you're watching right now on the video. And a lot of the reason I'd asked the custom harvester, why on earth would that field do better? And he said, well, for one, it's south-sided, so it's going to get more sun. And for two, it's steep, so a lot of the water could run off, the excess water. You've heard everybody say corn likes water, but it doesn't like wet feet. Well, it had wet feet. Down in the bottom lands, the corn only did like 101 or 102 bushels an acre. Not very good in that bottom swampland. And it wasn't until I rewatched some of my old videos that I noticed during that storm, a lot of that corn was underwater for quite a bit of time. So we get to like July, August, about the end of July, the corn looked amazing. It wasn't that there was any lack of fertility. I think everything was pretty good with the fertility. The corn looked real nice, dark green. The stalks were good. It was at the point where it was pollinating. Just a great looking crop. I was hoping to meet the goal I had for 200 bushel this year. I was hoping it would happen. The corn just looked so good, and then the weather just totally changed. It was a wet year to begin with, and then all of a sudden it just turned into a very wet year. In July for us, August, September, it just never turned off. It just kept raining and raining. He'd have maybe 2 days where it wouldn't rain, and those 2 days would be cloudy and overcast, and then you'd get another rain event to dump another inch of rain on you. So just not a good way to grow crops and not much water without any type of sunshine. So anyway, as far as the nitrogen, so let me start at the beginning. This year I had said back that I was trying something different in all my cornfields. I was trying to do a different method of application of the different stuff, nitrogen and that kind of stuff, just to see what made a difference. And to be honest with you, the field averages were so close to each other, you could not distinguish any type of a difference between one field to the next. I did spray some nitrogen on as a pre and come back and top dress. Some fields I didn't do that. I just put it all on as one application in the top dress. You guys know I was messing around with some micronutrients and foliar stuff in many applications, different fields, trying to do different combinations. And with the rainfall and the lack of sunshine, it really made it hard to find any noticeable difference between anything. It just didn't make sense one way or the other. So one thing I will say, though, my test field that I did a lot of the micronutrients and that kind of stuff, did a little bit different things with the nitrogen. That I was watching the yield monitor the whole time when they were combining. There's 2 monitors giving a reading, and the only field that really was spiking up in the yields was the test field that I went full on with everything. Everything I could throw at it, everything I had to throw at it, I did. Spared no expense on it, so to speak. There were places in that field where it was up around 220 bushel to the acre, and that was the only field that was like that. It wasn't like that in all the other fields, but that field had stand issues. You guys remember how the stand looked so poor after planting? It just wasn't. We think we have the problem solved. We had a problem with the corn planter that we didn't know about, and that had a lot to do with it. An airbag issue with getting enough air in the airbags. So anywhere it was rocky, the corn didn't do well. And you guys have seen my ground; it's all rocky. So that 220 bushels corn was coming in to the combine when we were down in some of the places where it wasn't as rocky. It was a lot better topsoil. So I don't know. We did all we could do. There wasn't anything else I could do. I have no regrets about this year. I really tried to do everything possible I could to grow the best crop of corn, the best I could afford, and just did not. It was a fail. It was a total fail. Soybeans, like I say, last year we did 43 bushel to the acre. This year we only did 42, so we lost a bushel off of our average. I don't know how much the rain would have affected them. There was no disease problems with the beans. The beans were just kind of small beans from the lack of sunshine. So at 42 bushel, again, I'm not going to be crying the blues over this. I was combining for that guy, and it was like 30, 38 bushel to the acre. So I know I'm fortunate to get what I've gotten, even though the yields are pretty low. So that brings us all the way up to harvest. It was kind of just the same all year. There wasn't really any change in our weather pattern or any type of difference. We had one warm spell when we had a heat wave that the temperature got up into almost 100 degrees, that it was dry for almost a week. That was it. And that week I was making hay like crazy trying to get it done, and glad I did, because that was the only time I had to make first cutting hay. But that was it. That was the only dry spell, the longest stretch we had all year to do any good here. Like I say, it rained. You had 2 days of overcast, partly sunny days, and then rain again. So just didn't pan out too well. So, and I don't want to make excuses. I'm not going to blame everything 100% on the weather. Like we said, we did have some stand problems with the corn planter. Hopefully that's resolved for next year, that we can get a good stand of corn, that at least we have more plants. It wasn't, the stalks were, all the stalks I had were big. They're big stalks. They were tall. All the corn was tall just about. The cobs were big. The problem was the kernels. It was filling out the kernels. The kernels were so small. There were kernels on there that were only about as wide as the width of a penny. Just tiny kernels on all the cobs. It didn't matter where on the farm or what, but you've seen the video of my neighbor's corn, and he was the one that pointed it out. I went up to see him the one day when he first started combining, and he said, "You're going to go bankrupt this year." I said, "Why?" He said, "The corn is terrible." And that was the first I knew we had any type of a problem, just because visually, looking at the plants, they were pretty darn good. Like I say, mid-July, I was just so impressed with how things looked, and it just kind of all fell apart there at the end. So that's the part that matters, the grain itself. The stalk can be tall, it can be green, it can be thick, and if the kernels don't fill out, you have decent kernels on the plant, then you just lose out there. It would have made nice silage corn, but not when you're trying to grow grain. So, like I say, I don't really know what happened with the soybeans. So that's kind of my summary for the year, and my take on it. A lot of you guys have been following me. You know that. So for next year, let me get into next year. Next year, we don't have near as much money to work with, of course, as this year. And that's the story. I'm not alone in that. There's a lot of guys that are probably going to be in the same boat as me right now. Watching some of the farm shows the other night, they were showing the numbers of farm bankruptcies, and they were showing the farm income is dropping, and the loans are increasing, and it's kind of this, a lot of people are in the same boat. The guys that aren't in that boat are highly diversified and probably know what they're doing a lot better than myself. But anyway, for next year, we're going to be cutting some things out of the budget for sure. Going to try to do things as efficiently as I can. Now, granted, we have a grain rally right now, and it's December, and I missed that by a month. My numbers were tallied in November when the harvest was done. I think corn right now in my area is at 4.31, and beans are about 8.31. So nowhere near the price I was able to get. So that is a disadvantage of me not being able to store it and try to get a better price. But then again, that's how it is. That's how I'm doing things. We're just starting out here, so I'm kind of at the bottom of the barrel, and I know that. I'm not going to say I'm any more than that, but there's a lot of ways that this could be more profitable, but basically the way I'm doing it now is the only option available. So anyway, with all that being said, for next year, we're going to try to make this a little bit more simple, a little less complicated. I'm going to try to rely on this manure a lot more for nutrients than man-made fertilizers. I think the chicken manure is going to be a great asset. I'm not going to cut nitrogen out as best as I can help it. I still have my couple loads of lime ordered. I'm not sure. I have to run some numbers to see if I need to cancel any of those. I want to try to do this as efficiently as I can this year. Probably I'm going to tell you the first thing we're going to cut out for 2019 is you're not going to see any equipment purchases or equipment upgrades. I highly doubt that. There's not really any money for any more equipment. And as far as working on my equipment, I'm pretty sure that we're not going to be doing anything more to the tractors or equipment. And there's no need to. Everything this year is pretty well as good as I can get it. All the problems that I know of are addressed. So couple things here or there like oil changes we're definitely going to take care of, but there won't be any more upgrades to anything. So I want to cut that out of my budget. I did spend a lot of money on getting some of this equipment up to the standards that I was hoping it would be at. So now, granted, also it's very deceiving because I have a lot of things bought for next year already that I didn't do last year. Like I say, I have all my herbicide is purchased. That's an expense in the thousands of dollars for me. If I was a tillage farmer, I wouldn't need to spend money on pre-emerge products, but till I buy the chisel plow and disc and everything, and it's the way I have to do things. So I do have all my herbicide. I did buy my fuel. I have all my baler twine bought and paid for. So I have a lot more expenses that are already paid for 2019 that I didn't last year. So that might be a little bit deceiving on my end as far as the financials. We'll have to see. It's going to be an interesting year for 2019. Hope it's better, but I don't want anybody to worry about PA Farms. We are definitely going to go another year here and see what happens. If 2019 is another bad year, then we're going to really have to do something to keep this going. I'm not saying I'm at the end of my rope or ready to declare bankruptcy, not by any means. So we're going to continue. YouTube's going to continue as long as you guys want to keep watching. If that's something you want me to keep going, I'll keep going with it. But that's 2018. It just sucked. There's no other way to say it. It was the year of the rain, and stuff like that, there's no stopping. You need sunshine and heat, and we didn't have it. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.